Alright folks, welcome to Saddle and Sixskin. For those of you settling in, maybe with a cup of coffee or something a bit stronger, you know, that age-old question of, what's life all about, often comes down to the stories we tell ourselves and the connections we make along the way, right? Especially those of us seasoned veterans, 40 or older. That's exactly why we're here, to share tales of the Old West that resonate with the grit and grace we've come to appreciate. So, before we mosey on into this week's tale, if you're enjoying the ride, do me a favor and give that like button a good, solid tap. And if you're fixin' to stick around for more stories from the saddle, go ahead and subscribe, will ya? The autumn wind cut sharp through the main street of Cedar Ridge, Texas. Can't you almost feel it? Dust swirled in small whirlwinds, stinging the eyes of anyone caught outside for too long. The wooden fronts of the buildings groaned in the dry breeze. Their boards sun-faded and weathered by years of hard survival. Every crack, every creak, told a story of resilience and hardship. In those days, Texas wasn't for the faint of heart. It was a land of opportunity, sure, but it also demanded a certain kind of toughness, a willingness to face the elements head-on. Just like our lives, wouldn't you say? We all get a little sun-faded and weathered, but we keep on truckin'. But sometimes, even the toughest folks need a helping hand, a bit of kindness to soften the edges, right? And wouldn't you be surprised if those folks were around when you need a bit of help? On the steps of Miller's General Store sat Mary Whitfield, her shawl drawn tight around herself and her little girl. Clara, just 7 years old, leaned against her mother's side. She shivered, though the wool wrapped around her. Mary's stomach nodded at her daughter's small whisper. "Mama, I'm hungry." Her heart broke at the sound. A mother's heart, it aches for her child's needs, doesn't it? Especially when those needs are so basic, so simple, like a full belly. We've all been there, maybe not with hunger pains, but with that gnawing feeling of helplessness. And a mother feels that even more, as she wants to protect her children, but she is the only one able to care for them. Makes you wonder what Mary was thinking, what choices she had made to bring her to this very place. What had led her to Cedar Ridge, and what hopes did she carry for the future? Well, let's see, shall we? And if you're finding yourself invested in Mary's story, why not go ahead and hit that like button? It helps others find Saddle and Sixskin, and you know, maybe find a little comfort in these shared experiences. Clara's big blue eyes, so much like her late father's, stared up at her with trust and hope. Mary smoothed back the child's tangled blonde hair, forcing her voice to stay calm. "I know, sweetheart, just a little longer." But the truth pressed hard. Their handful of coins had run out yesterday. It is hard when your baby is hungry and asks you for food to feed them and you can't. The weight of that reality settled heavy on Mary's shoulders. It's a harsh world sometimes, isn't it? Those big blue eyes are like a mirror reflecting back her own determination. She has to find something, anything, to keep her daughter safe. It's the primal drive of a mother, that fierce protection. You've seen it, haven't you? That glint in the eye of a woman defending her own. But this time, the child gives hope to the mother. And Mary is going to make do with what she has to do. Because she promised that girl that she will find food for her. For 3 days, she had begged for work, sewing, cooking, washing, but Cedar Ridge was small, and everyone had their own troubles. Doors closed kindly at first, then firmly. Bootsteps echoed on the boardwalk, steady and heavy. Mary lifted her chin, clutching Clara closer. A tall man was walking toward them, his wide-brimmed hat shadowing a weathered face. It's a harsh reality, isn't it? When you're down on your luck, it feels like the whole world is against you. Everyone is struggling, and few have the resources to lend a hand. But Mary refused to be defeated. She held her head high, even as her stomach growled and her daughter shivered. There's a quiet dignity in that, a refusal to be broken. So, what do you think? Is the town too small for what is happening, or is it going to change the landscape of what will happen and offer an answer? Remember to subscribe to Saddle and Sixkin so you don't miss a single chapter of Mary's story. His shoulders filled his coat, and the spurs on his boots jingled softly with every step. Ethan Cole had come to town for supplies, as he did every 2 weeks. He could usually pass through without more than a nod to neighbors, but today his eyes caught on the young woman and child huddled against the store. Desperation wasn't rare in Texas. You know, the sound of those spurs, it's like the heartbeat of the West. A rhythm of hard work and self-reliance. Ethan wasn't looking for trouble, he just came to town for what he needed and to get back to the ranch. He recognized the look of desperation, having seen it many times before in others. But something about this woman and child caught his eye. Sometimes, it's the smallest details that draw us in, the quiet moments that change the course of our lives. You get that, don't you? And is there an element of something special that Ethan will be able to help this family? Let's keep going. Yet there was something about the way this woman held her head high, even as she trembled from hunger and weariness. He tipped his hat. "Ma'am." Mary stiffened. Ethan studied them quietly. The woman was younger than he'd first thought, maybe 25. Dark hair tucked into a plain bun, a dress showing the miles of hard travel. Ethan saw something in Mary that spoke of strength and resilience. It wasn't just her beauty, though there was a certain worn grace about her. It was the way she carried herself, the way she protected her child. You know, in the West, you learn to read people quickly. You had to size them up, judge their character, and decide whether they were friend or foe. Ethan was a good judge of character, and he liked what he saw in Mary. It might be a little too early, but what are your first impressions of Ethan? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The girl pressed against her side looked worse. Her cheeks hollow, her dress thin, her small hands clutched into fists for warmth. "You new to Cedar Ridge?" Ethan asked. "Yes, sir. We arrived Monday." Her pride battled with desperation. "We're looking for work. Work's hard to come by for a woman alone. It's hard to ask for help, isn't it? To swallow your pride and admit that you can't do it all on your own." Mary struggled with it, wanting to appear strong and capable, but the truth was undeniable. They were hungry, tired, and running out of options. And she knew Ethan was right, women in that time were not welcome in positions of labor or other jobs. Ethan's question, it wasn't just idle curiosity. He was trying to gauge her situation, to see if there was a way he could help. He knew the hardships of life in the West, and he wasn't one to turn a blind eye to those in need. Just like most of us folks watching. "I'm not afraid of hard work," Mary said quickly, steadying her voice. Ethan shifted his weight, as if making up his mind. "Ethan Cole, I run the Double C Ranch about 5 miles north." Mary waited, her heart thumping with something that felt a lot like hope. He took off his hat, running a hand through dark hair. "I'm a widower. Lost my wife 2 years back." There's that spark of hope again, that flicker of possibility in the darkness. Mary's words were honest, a simple statement of fact. She wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty. And Ethan, he laid his cards on the table. He was a rancher, a widower, a man in need of help. No fancy words, no false promises, just the plain truth. I wonder what it could mean by mentioning losing his wife. Is there more to it than what he makes it out to be? Hit that like button, if you haven't already. Got a daughter, Sarah. She's 9. I need help raising her, keeping house. His gray eyes locked on hers. Voice plain as the dirt under their feet. Your daughter needs a home and my bed needs a wife. Mary froze, her face flushing hot, her arm tightening around Clara. People passing slowed, ears pricking for gossip. How dare you, she whispered, standing. Now, that's a proposal you don't hear every day. Blunt, honest, and a little shocking, wouldn't you say? In those days, marriage was often a practical arrangement, a way to survive and build a life together. But still, Ethan's words were jarring, stripping away any pretense of romance. Is it just me, or is that the strangest proposal one could even think of in that time? And the nosy neighbors, always eager for a bit of drama. Now, isn't that what's to be expected in the wild west of Texas? If this storyline is of your liking, subscribe for future releases. Hear me out. Ethan raised a hand. I'm not some scoundrel. I mean proper marriage, legal and right. A home for you and your girl and a wife for me. Out here, folks do it all the time. Mail-order brides, arranged matches. I'm just putting it plain. Mary sank back onto the step, her legs weak. You're proposing marriage to a stranger. Let's cut through the noise and try something new. If you haven't, give the video a like. With everything going on, Mary is a bit taken aback. Ethan's offer, while shocking, was also strangely honest. He wasn't trying to woo her with sweet words or grand gestures. He was simply stating his needs and offering a solution. It was a practical proposition, born of necessity and the realities of life on the frontier. And it was a chance, maybe the only one, for Mary and Clara to find safety and security. This may not be the prettiest proposal, but is it what is needed? Strangers don't stay strangers for long when life depends on it. His voice stayed steady, but there was something raw in it, too. I've got 300 acres, cattle, a house with a roof that don't leak. It's not riches, but it's safe. Your girl would have food and schooling. You'd have a place. And I'd have a partner. Clara lifted her head, eyes wide. Mama, does he really have a house? A lot of things have been changing, including some big stuff in the video. Like and subscribe for more. With no one else helping Mary, Ethan knows that there is a choice that Mary has to make, and he's presenting it like a business deal with all the positives included. Also, with a child in the equation, he has to take it all into consideration. He wants to take care of them, and for her, and his daughter, it might be what is necessary. But if we look at his proposition in the modern days, what would you consider this to be? Ethan's stern face softened as he looked at her. I do, little one. With a big kitchen and a fireplace taller than your mama. Mary's chest ached. Her child hadn't eaten in 2 days, and winter was coming fast. She thought of Colorado, of the men her late husband had owed money to, the ones who might still be searching. They couldn't go back. They had nowhere else to go. I need to think, she whispered. The words spoken by Ethan will make the mother take into consideration the possibilities to provide stability for her and her daughter. Considering that she is a widow, and the people are chasing after her due to debts that her husband incurred, she is backed into a corner. If she has that in the back of her head, she might need to strongly consider Ethan's offer, in order to provide the bare minimum of shelter and food. Fair enough. Ethan reached into his vest and pressed coins into her hand. Mary tried to push them back, but his hand was firm. Get yourselves a meal at Murphy's. I'll be loading supplies for the next hour. If you want, I'll take you to see the ranch. No promises, no tricks, just come see it. And just like that, he walked away, leaving Mary staring down at the silver in her palm. It is an offer she cannot refuse, to provide food for her daughter and allow her to rest with a hot meal and a roof. So that she is able to make decisions with a clear head is something she needs to make sure to accomplish, as she is the only one who can do so. If she is able to get a moment of peace to make a decision, she might be able to see the opportunity, but this is not a position that anyone wants to be in. All of her choices are limited, and there is no clear path forward for her. It's all unknown. That evening, after hot stew and bread that filled Clara's belly for the first time in days, Mary found herself climbing into Ethan Cole's wagon. The girl nestled against her side, chattering about the promised fireplace and kittens and barns. The moment of silence provided an opportunity for Mary to consider the options that she had. She may be able to provide some stability for her daughter, but in return, she has to give herself to another. She is very hesitant to allow this, especially due to the debts incurred by her husband. It all might backfire if she isn't careful. You don't have to decide today, Ethan said as he took the reins. Just meet Sarah. See the place. If it's not right, I'll bring you back. No questions asked. Mary nodded, her fingers clutching the edge of the wagon seat. You know, even though the prospect of marrying a stranger is a bit scary, at least he is willing to give her an option to return back, if she needs. It may seem that it's very chivalrous of him, he is thinking about his daughter as well. The sun was sinking low, spilling the prairie in golden shadow. She stole a glance at the man beside her. He wasn't handsome in the polished way of city men, but there was a steadiness about him, a strength like the mountains in the distance. Why offer this to us? She asked softly. She sees how he has his own ranch and place, and she wonders why she is being given this opportunity. After what she has had to endure, she can't help but be skeptical, as there has to be some sort of bad reasoning for it. His eyes stayed on the rutted trail. Because I know what it is to be alone, and because my girl's running wild without a woman's hand to guide her. Ethan finally answers her questions and lays down a reason that it's also not self-serving to him. It could be seen that he could just hire someone to help him with his daughter, but maybe he wants that wifely touch that he needs to have. Maybe he is looking for someone to have a loving home with. And maybe, his voice dropped lower, rougher. Maybe because I'm tired of talking to cattle in the wind. For the first time in months, Mary felt her lips twitch toward a smile. After a long time of dealing with the loneliness and other issues, he wants someone to talk to and not just the livestock on his ranch. It sounds like his reasoning is fair enough, but can it be trusted? The wagon crested a rise, and Ethan pointed ahead. There it is, the double C. Mary's breath caught. A sturdy two-story house stood against the endless sky, smoke rising from its chimney. Not fancy, but solid. The kind of place where roots could grow. For the first time since fleeing Colorado, Mary felt something inside her ease. Beside her, Clara whispered, eyes wide with wonder. Is this our home now, Mama? The family has not had a place for a while, and that house in the open space makes her think about the possibility of what it can become. It will take a lot of care and love to make the place a loving home, and only time will tell if they can make that work. It all falls on the shoulders of Mary to make the decision to choose whether or not it can work for them. What decision do you think she is going to make? Mary could only hold her close, torn between fear and hope as the wagon rolled on toward whatever waited next. The wagon rolled to a stop in front of the ranch house. Just as the last light of day burned along the horizon, before Mary could gather her thoughts, the front door swung open. A girl came running out, her dark braids flying. So much has happened, and a whole new stage of the story will be coming. Let me know your thoughts with a like and a subscribe. She was tall for 9, sturdy like her father with the same piercing gray eyes. She skidded to a halt, staring at the strangers climbing down from the wagon. Papa, who are they? She asked, her voice curious, not shy. Here's the one person that could be a sticking point to whether or not Mary is willing to stay at the ranch. Even if the girl is good, there could still be some problems, so the mother has to be on the lookout. Ethan lifted Clara down carefully, surprising Mary with his gentleness. Sarah, this is Mrs. Whitfield and her daughter, Clara. They'll be visiting a while. You see a gentle nature side to Ethan that he hasn't shown before. Maybe he isn't as cold as we all thought, and maybe he is able to soften up. What do you think? Sarah's sharp eyes flicked from her father to Mary, then to Clara. Are you the new housekeeper? Sarah's first response may not be the best way, but she is a child and wants to get the idea of how she might be taken care of. She does need a lady's touch to help grow up, but it still doesn't mean that she needs a mom. It is very presumptuous. Ethan felt heat rise in her cheeks. Papa said, we needed. Mary felt heat rise in her cheeks, but Ethan's voice carried a firm note. Sarah, the girl frowned, but said no more. Instead, she studied Clara like a young courting a new companion. Ethan sees how his daughter is acting up, and lays down a line in the sand. He wants a mother figure for his daughter, but will that work out in the long run? How old are you? 7, Clara whispered, still clinging to Mary's skirt. I'm 9, Sarah said proudly. Do you know how to ride? Clara shook her head. Well, you'll learn here. Papa says every girl should ride like she belongs on the land. As they are the same gender, Sarah is quick to take Clara in and include her in activities. While the start was a bit rocky, now they seem to have a connection that could bring both mothers closer together. Mary followed them inside, her heart thumping with every step. The house was just as Ethan had promised. Solid walls, a wide hearth, a kitchen that smelled faintly of coffee and wood smoke. It was clean, but plain. No curtains, no flowers, only sturdy furniture, and one photograph of a kind-eyed woman who must have been Ethan's late wife. All this has happened fast, and now she is at the crossroads of what will happen in the future. What do you think will occur? Is the mother willing to risk it all and go all in? Ethan busied himself awkwardly in the kitchen. Coffee for you? Milk for the girls. Coffee is fine, Mary said softly. She sat at the table, watching her daughter slowly loosen her grip as Sarah showed her a carved wooden horse. This act solidifies the possible choice that Mary might make, and all will be determined at the end. What will happen to them all? Their giggles filled the room, soft but full of promise. Finally, Ethan cleared his throat. He set a steaming mug before her, then leaned against the counter, his expression unreadable. I reckon I should explain myself better than I did in town. With that he will provide a clearer picture of his plan and allow her to take that into consideration. With that clear picture, what will occur? Mary wrapped her hands around the mug, waiting. My wife, Margaret, died of fever back. We lost a second child that same day. His voice was rough, but steady. Since then, I've managed best I could, but Sarah needs more than a father who barely knows how to braid hair. He is willing to open himself up and show his vulnerabilities so that there isn't much unknown to her. The choice is on her shoulders, but now, she has a clearer understanding of the cards laid down. And this ranch, it needs a woman's touch as much as I do. Mary swallowed hard. Mr. Cole, your offer was crude. He finished for her, nodding. I know it was, but I'm not a man who dances around words. What I meant was simple. I need a partner, a wife, and I'd offer you and your daughter my name, my home, and my protection. He will be honest with all, so she can be clear that he means what he says and isn't willing to lead her on. His words and meanings are clear, so she can rest easy and make an informed decision. Let's try to get more likes, to help spread the word out. The words hung in the warm air, simple as the crackle of the fire. Mary's hands trembled around her cup. You don't even know us. I know enough, Ethan said. His gray eyes were steady on hers. You've got pride, but not too much to work. You've got a daughter who trusts you, which tells me the kind of mother you are, and I saw how folks turned you away in town. It wasn't for lack of trying. You're strong, Mrs. Whitfield. In her mind, she needs to consider what all this will mean for her. How much will she have to bend to make this work? She has to think about what to do. Stronger than most. That's the kind of woman I need beside me. Mary's throat tightened. No man had spoken to her like that before, not even her late husband, who had offered charm, but never steadiness. She thought of Clara's thin shoulders, of the debts left behind in Colorado, of the long, hungry nights that stretched ahead if she refused. She recognizes that Ethan is seeing the strength in her, and that is what is pulling her to say yes. To finally be told that there is potential. Why us? She asked at last, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan's gaze flicked toward his daughter, who was now teaching Clara how to make the carved horse trot across the table. Because when I saw you sitting there holding your chin up, though you had nothing left, you reminded me of Margaret. Not in looks, in spirit. You can never know what another is thinking, and Ethan sees a strength of character that reminds him of what he loves, and that is the driving factor behind all of it. It seems that his wife left a large mark on him. And because I believe a man knows when the right chance crosses his path, I won't let this one ride past. Silence fell, broken only by the girls' laughter. At last, Ethan spoke again, softer now. Stay tonight. See the ranch tomorrow. Meet the hands. See the land. If it doesn't suit, I'll take you back to town myself. He isn't going to push her into the decision, but instead, give her the space and time to choose the best path forward. The fact that he is being honest with her and trusting in her ability to make the right choice, speaks volumes about him. But if it does, he paused, his eyes steady on hers, then we'll talk about making this house your home. Mary looked down at Clara, who was smiling for the first time in weeks, her small hands clutching the wooden horse as Sarah chattered beside her. Something inside Mary cracked, fragile, but certain. One night, she whispered, "We'll see what tomorrow brings." With the moment of peace and joy that the girls are having, she is thinking of the right move for her family. However, can it be for real? And what are the possible outcomes? We are seeing a lot of engagement. If you are too, hit that subscribe button to see what comes next. Ethan's jaw eased just a fraction. He tipped his hat slightly, though it was already resting on the counter. Fair enough. That night, as Mary lay awake in the guest room, Clara curled warmly against her. She listened to the wind brushing against the ranch house. The scent of wood smoke lingered in the air. Will everything work out in the end? And for the first time since her husband's death, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was a place left in this world for her and her daughter. She closed her eyes, torn between fear and hope, knowing that tomorrow's dawn might change everything. She is now willing to open herself up to the possibilities in store for her and her family. But the question that is asked is, will it be possible? Now, before we move on, what do you think about the story so far? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm really curious to know. Morning came early at the Double C Ranch. The rooster's crow rang out across the prairie, followed by the lowing of cattle and the clatter of hooves in the corral. Mary rose quietly, careful not to wake Clara, and peered out the small guest room window. The land stretched endlessly, bathed in the pink light of dawn. The vast openness of the land speaks of opportunities and prosperity if worked to the best of the ability. Will all of it be used by this family? For a moment, she simply breathed it in, the sight both terrifying in its vastness and comforting in its steadiness. A knock at the door startled her. "Breakfast's ready. Papa says come hungry," Sarah's voice called. All of this feels like a normal happy family, and Mary is trying to see if that will be her future. It could be a good fit, but there is still the issue of the debts. Mary smiled faintly. She helped Clara dress, and together they went downstairs. The kitchen smelled of bacon and fresh biscuits. Ethan was at the stove, sleeves rolled to his elbows, moving with the efficiency of a man long used to doing things alone. All of these signals are solidifying the decision she will most likely make. It's just a matter of time for her to say yes. What will be the outcome of this day? "Morning," he said gruffly, but his eyes softened when they met hers. "Sit. Eat." The girls chattered like old friends, Sarah teaching Clara the names of every horse in the barn. Mary listened, torn between caution and the tug of belonging that pressed heavier with every passing moment. This moment solidifies it for her. The need for her to provide a solid home for her daughter, and this could possibly be it. After breakfast, Ethan showed her the ranch. He walked her past the barn, the smokehouse, the chicken coop. 6 men worked the land with him, their nods respectful when Ethan introduced her as his guest. All the hands see the potential that she is the right one and they approve. This may weigh on her mind about the situation as a whole. Mary noticed the way the men looked at Ethan, with trust, with loyalty. This was a man who led not with charm, but with steadiness. Being able to have the loyalty of all his men is a great thing, and shows how much he cares for them. This might weigh on the decision she needs to make. What say you? By midday, Mary found herself kneeling in the overgrown garden, running the rich soil through her fingers. "It could grow again," she murmured. "It's yours if you stay," Ethan said quietly beside her. "Now we are nearing the finality of the decision that will be made. How much more is there before she says yes?" Mary looked up at him, his gray eyes serious but not pressing. Her heart ached with the weight of choice. Safety for Clara, a partnership for herself, a future that could be solid, if not certain. All the clues are adding up to her making that decision. Is there something else that can be added? If you are liking the content, hit that subscribe button to follow more of the story. But before she could answer, the sound of horses thundered across the yard. Ethan stiffened. 3 riders approached fast, their faces hard, their eyes colder still. Mary's blood turned to ice. She recognized their type, the kind of men who had haunted her past. The past has come to haunt her. The only choice now is to either run or defend herself. What will she do? The leader swung down from his horse, a thin man with a cruel smile. "We're looking for a woman, Mary Whitfield. Word is she's been seen here." Mary's breath caught. Clara clutched her hand tight. Ethan is willing to protect the child, but he is unaware of the true nature of why they are there. What will he do when they explain it to him? Ethan stepped forward, rifle in hand, his voice calm but firm. "This here's my place, and the woman inside is my intended wife. Any business you thought you had with her is over." Will he be able to stand against the might of those that are chasing her? He doesn't fully understand the extent of what they are chasing, but he seems willing to do so. He is now stepping up to protect her. The man's eyes narrowed. "Debt don't die with a husband, Cole. Jake Morrison. Don't forget what's owed." Now that he knows, what will he do? Is he willing to make the leap and protect them even with the weight of what it is? If he turns back, will Mary be able to defend herself? "Then he can take it up with me," Ethan said, his jaw like stone. "But I'll tell you plain. This woman and her girl are under my protection now. You want to try taking her? You'll find the whole double C standing in your way." Wow, he is really going all in and willing to go against it all. It shows a lot of the strength of Ethan to stand by her, even though he doesn't know all of it. This is all a major plot point for the two. Mary's heart pounded as ranch hands appeared from the bunkhouse, rifles at the ready. The air was tight with danger. The men glared, spat tobacco into the dust, then mounted up again. "We'll be back," the leader warned. "And when we do, we'll want proof of that marriage." He is willing to defend her with all his people. That alone is a powerful statement of what she means to him. What happens next may solidify everything. Ethan's voice rang clear. "You'll have it." The riders thundered away, leaving silence heavy in their wake. Mary trembled, her knees weak. It's going to be a choice between a rock and a hard place. It's the choice between protection and being in debt with someone that she has never known. Which way does she lean? Ethan turned to her, eyes steady. "I'm sorry. I know I said you'd have time to decide, but those men will return, and the only way to keep you and Clara safe is to make it official." He recognizes the need to defend her, and the only choice to do so is to actually make it real and have it be known to the world. I wonder what all it means for them. If you like all this, please give the video a like. Mary's throat tightened. This wasn't the way she'd wanted to choose, but the truth was undeniable. Ethan had stood for her when no one else would. He had drawn a line in the dirt and claimed her as his own, not with false promises, but with the steady courage of a man who meant every word. As mentioned before, he is willing to defend her from everything that will occur, and defend her honor. Is that it? Will she finally agree? Clara tugged her sleeve. Mama, she whispered. Can we stay, please? Mary looked at her daughter's hopeful eyes, then at Ethan, solid, steady, unflinching. Clara seals the deal. Mary will need to consider what her daughter wants as her well-being, and her happiness is her goal. Everything hinges on the decision she is about to make. For the first time since her husband's death, she felt the ground beneath her feet firming into something like hope. All right, she whispered. We'll marry. It's going to happen. With all that she has experienced, she knows what the best move is to do. And the die has been cast. What do you all think? Relief flickered across Ethan's face, though he kept his composure. He nodded once, firm and final. Tomorrow, we'll go into town and see the preacher. They are going to make it official and solidify their bond in front of God and others. Everyone will see the power of their bond. That's all that has to be done. Mary exhaled shakily. This wasn't the love story she had dreamed of as a girl. It wasn't romance spun with pretty words or promises. This is not going to be what she wanted, but it will be a good life. Will it be one of happiness and joy? Or will there be trials? But as Clara slipped her small hand into Sarah's, and as Ethan's steady presence stood like a wall against the storm of her past, Mary realized something she had never dared to believe. Now, all she needs to do, is to move into the future and see what comes. With a daughter, a home, and someone to fight for, everything is possible. What do you think? Perhaps in this wild, untamed land, the strongest kind of love wasn't born from fancy courtship at all. Perhaps it was built like the double C itself, sturdy, weathered, unyielding, a love not of chance, but of choice. She has chosen it to become everything she needs it to be. What will the future be? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional Wild West tales every week. And remember to leave your comments below.